Welcome to another episode of Unstoppable, our second filming of the day. We have Dean DeCarlo from Mission Disrupt. What's happening, man? How are you?
How's it going, Rob?
Good, very good. I'm very happy that you're here. We always have great conversations. We got a lot to talk about. But first thing I'm diving into is Mission Disrupt. First of all, they helped us with Culkin Interactive. They got Culkin Interactive off the ground. Anybody that's been to our site, if you like it, it's because of them. If you don't like it, it's because of me, because I was a pain in the ass. But these guys are great. You guys have done a great job. You guys have built some team over there, man. I'm like a marketing guy. I'm very critical of a lot of different people, a lot of different marketing things, and people say they do marketing and say they do, and very few are really kind of exceeding all expectations. But I will tell you, you are a very impressive guy. You guys do things
Thanks,
well over there. And how'd you get into it?
Honestly, I've always loved marketing as well. I mean, since like high school, I've known what I wanted to do. You know, I played left and right bench in college in football, so for high school. So I knew right away NFL, that was out of the question.
No shot.
Right? Yeah, no shot. I was way too small. And so for me, I was always obsessed with brands and how they advertise, like why you would look at Tide detergent over like the Target brand, right? So that was fascinating to me. So from a really young age, I just knew like this was going to be my thing, and luckily I got to go to college and pursue that, and that's really how it started.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And what you guys do better than, I mean, anybody really, anybody that I've met, you have the mind for analytics, applying data to marketing, putting the data behind it, the way that you guys kind of dissect things and look at things and use the data to make adjustments is amazing. The way you talk about it is amazing. And I mean, how'd you get the experience to do all that?
Just started doing it, honestly. In college, I hit the ground running. I got internships. I started at a TV studio and eventually started the marketing department there. Grew that team to a 30-person marketing team. Our team was bigger than some of our TV crews that we had at the time. But for me, it was just about practice. Like, I was the type of guy that when I'd go back to my dorm room or even during class when I'd get bored, I would just go on Google and I would start taking the Google Analytic tests and things like that, just because I was like, if I'm going to get a job, I need to have practical knowledge. So for me, it's always been about execution, and that's really how I got into it. It's been trial and error for, you know, I'm 26, but I've honestly been doing this since I was 18 years old. I've been practicing it for the last 8 years.
Yeah, I mean,
that's how it's not that I got it overnight.
You could tell, and you definitely have a knack for it. You have a vision for it, because guys that have been doing it for years doesn't mean they understand the stuff that you understand. So you're clearly passionate about it, and kudos to you and your team, quite frankly, that's growing all the time. I've worked with them, and they do a great job. So
yeah, the team's critical.
Yeah,
the team's something that we really focus on at the agency right now. That's our biggest differentiator. We've really invested in talent, and why a lot of agencies invest in junior level people, and of course we have those people as well. We started with very senior level people because we went through the motions and we realized we need to get smart people in the building first. So we're really built out our leadership team, and now we're starting to build out that agency where we're bringing in this fresh talent who gives you perspective on things like, you know, for instance, like, you know me as the data guy, but we also have a really great creative team too. Yep. But now we're bringing in that perspective, hiring those people. So you bring in somebody from college, they bring the knowledge of TikTok. Not that I'm so like far behind that generation, but there's always a new perspective.
Of course.
And our leadership team can really guide them in what they have to do data-wise. Okay, so yes, we're going to use TikTok, but how are we going to use it? What are the audiences we're going after? What is that advertising format going to look like? And what's the big idea? And we help work together now to make that all happen.
That's awesome, man. And we talk about it all the time. Anybody that comes in here, literally, it doesn't matter what industry they are in, we talk about putting the right people in the right seats, and all businesses are created on the people. How do you pick the best people? How do you know how to hire? Like, what is your strategy behind that?
Hiring has been one of the most painful processes for me.
It is for everybody.
And the worst part about hiring is if you get it wrong as a business owner, it becomes really costly.
Yeah.
And that's something that I learned really quickly. And to give you an example, we had hired a developer early on, and between the productivity we lost and things that we had to do in training, it cost us upward of like 10 or 15 grand in like this first month. And I had to let that person go. And that was such a hard lesson to learn as a first year business.
Yeah, totally.
That really was like, I had 2 jobs at the time. Like I wasn't even paying myself in that first year. So,
And to waste $10,000-$15,000 is crazy.
one of the first hires I made was really costly for me. And I learned really quick that I have to dive into figuring out, one, not just who they are as a person, because that's really important, especially in a small team like ours. We're a team of 6 right now and we're growing. But also, what's their ambition like, and like what have they done? So the people that are in my team right now, they really are like best in class. Like I look to see what that talent level is, and you can't fake talent, because when you're a designer, you're gonna know the designers that work on really great apps and websites, and the designers that are just doing something that kind of look like a template and any shop can do, right? So I kind of look at like what their ambition is and like what their goal is. And that's the other thing. I probably have check-ins with my teammates every 2 to 3 months, and I say, hey, where are you right now? Like, are you comfortable where you're at in your career? Where do you see yourself going in six months, a year, 2 years? And I'll even say, is it beyond us? And if it is, like, that's completely fine to me.
Totally.
How can I help you get there?
I completely respect and understand what you're saying. A lot of people forget that. A lot of people forget that their employees have the same dreams, right? So we have this philosophy and we have this slogan here. It's painted on our front wall, right? It's everywhere. It's on our gear. Build your dream, right?
Yeah.
And that's a very important thing to us, right? And that was selected very, very carefully. One, because there's a play on words, right? We're a construction company, right? Build, obviously. So like there's a play on words there. But so build your building, build your this, build whatever it is. But more importantly, and I say that very, very specifically, more importantly, is internally, right? Our employees, everybody has a dream. I don't care if your dream is to buy a house, start a family, retire and go to Florida, buy your kid a car, get your kid through college, whatever it is that you dream, whatever it is that you need, whatever it is that you want to build, we try to make Kalka a vehicle to build that. And for everybody.
That's great.
For everybody.
That's a good culture to build.
Totally. And we really, really, truly 100% believe that for everybody we touch, right? Like I believe that for you. Like you're our boy. Like we're friends now. Like you come in.
Yeah.
Kalka Interactive is literally built for our friends, our family, our people to build their dreams. Like we want to help them grow. We want to help them like grow their businesses. We want nonprofits who we've come so close with, LLS, Make-A-Wish is coming next week. All these people, like if their dream is to raise money, like you're involved with LLS, right? Like you got even Markel involved, right? But if your dream is to raise money for that charity, whatever it is, like we want to be there to help build it. And I think that a lot of companies forget that, right? So the fact that you have that philosophy is really cool. Like, and I'm sure your employees appreciate it. Like I'm sure they understand it, they know it, and maybe they do outgrow you, right? But you help them get there, and you weren't afraid to let that happen.
Yeah, and it's good karma, right? I mean, you got to treat people how you're going to be treated, and you got to realize that they're not a commodity. They bring value to you, and if you treat them well, they're going to treat the business well. They're not going to treat the client as another number, and they're going to be invested. And we definitely see that. I know a ton of agencies where it's just like they talk about burnout. They talk about high turnover rate. We don't have any of that. And like we're so lucky to have that, but it's because of the culture that we're building. It's because of we're on the same page. We're checking in. We're super transparent with not just each other, but our clients and setting expectations. So it helps.
It's because you're a good leader, right? Like let's face it. Like I know you don't want to toot your own horn, right? But it's because you're a good leader. You're an entrepreneur. You clearly have the recipes for success. I guess this came to you at a young age. This has kind of been like has this been your thing? Has this been like, have you always been like that?
You know what? I didn't think I was, but looking back on it now, I have like the classic lemonade stand story that I did that when I was a kid a few times. And like, I made a decent amount of money doing that, but I didn't think anything of it. Then I remember in like the 4th grade, like I started a kind of like my own Kalka Interactive, but for video games. I used to distribute that out to the 4th graders in school.
That's cool.
And it was called The Weekly Video, and I built my first site.
Wow.
By coincidence. And I built 1 or 2 sites in 4th grade. I didn't touch websites again until, I don't know, 10 years, 12 years later, 13. So I
But
think
what
it's just like coincidence, but it's kind of,
whether you knew it or not, you had it, right? And
yeah.
like you just have this very entrepreneurial spirit, and marketing's not the only thing that you've done that with, right? Like tell me, you own a piece of real estate that you've invested in. Like
Yeah.
how'd you get into that?
Yeah. So pretty much junior year of college, we moved. I went to UAlbany, so I lived on campus, and then we all decided to move off campus because it was much cheaper, probably about half of the cost of what it would be to have a dorm room, a much bigger space. It was me and 6 of my boys, so it's
Yeah,
like, come on,
it's
it's
cool.
gonna be awesome. So we're staying in this house, and it's like having a great time. But I started thinking about it. Like a lot of times late at night, I'd be like, this guy's bringing in like, we calculated $36,000 a year off of 6 of us.
Yeah,
The house was like $150,000. Probably he probably bought them for honestly 100 grand at
yeah,
the time. And I was just like, this is insane. Like this isn't going away. There's 20,000 kids in Albany, and most of them felt like the way we did. They didn't want to pay the absorbent fees, so they move off campus. And I was like, this is like a no-brainer business model. It's recession
yeah.
proof because you always got to go get your education. Like that's always going to be a thing. So
It makes so much sense, and it's funny, right? You're laying in bed, and guys are laying in bed, they're thinking about girls, they're thinking about the party, they're thinking about this, and then you're thinking about, holy shit, look
yeah,
at the money maker that I'm laying in right now,
mind-boggling.
and you decided to go out and buy your own.
Yeah, yeah. So here's the funny story. So we graduate 2 years later, and we're online one day, and we notice that the house next to the house that we lived in for 2 years goes up for sale. And not only that, we know who the owner is of
Okay.
this house by chance, not because we lived next door, because it was actually a family friend of my buddies who lived in the house with
Oh
me.
wow.
Yeah. So we wound up buying that a year after we graduated.
Oh cool.
And this is right before the Albany market blew up. So we got in at a great time. Turns out it's not just we got double lucky, so we got a great price, and then turns out the house was zoned for it to be to have at least 7 rooms in it. Most of them are 6 rooms, but it was grandfathered in that we could have a 7th bedroom, so we got double
That's
lucky.
awesome. That's awesome. So you get more income and
Yeah, so it's been really great. I've learned a lot. Like I didn't know anything about construction. We had to do a whole renovation, and I learned about demoing. All things that you know, as a business guy and as a guy who sits in an office, we don't touch those things.
yeah,
But I
yeah.
got my hands dirty in that stuff, so that was kind of cool. A lot of weekends, like going upstate and doing that ourselves. But it was great. We did the demo. We did bathrooms. We did a kitchen, and we did painting. And we
Nice.
actually redid the whole 3rd floor because at the time, like I said, it was a 7th bedroom, but it wasn't done. So we had to put down floor. So
And now it just sits there and makes you money.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And listen, there's no better investment than real estate, right? Now your goal is to get more of these.
yeah. So the original goal was it's a company we called Off Campus Heroes, and the original goal was to expand basically the portfolio with more student housing, because at the end of the day, it's being paid for by
Yeah, it's a
parents
great model.
and financial aid.
I know very, very large companies that literally that's their entire model.
Yeah. The issue now, though, is that houses that went for 150,000 2 years ago are now north of 225. Like I think the house that we have is valued at like 230, which is like insane. But it presents a problem for us, and the problem is the numbers behind it and like the money that we're gonna make amongst me and my partners that I have.
Yep.
So now, like, and you're going to know way more than me. It's like we're trying to figure out how to pivot. And maybe one of those things is taking that money and bringing it to another state where it's going to go longer, where we can get larger pieces of property for the amount of partners that we are, and kind of scale that way. Maybe develop some properties, do flips and things like that.
Yeah, because it's funny because you have a piece of real estate that's double the price, but you're not getting double the income. So,
Right.
So, I mean, the play is really to take the equity out of that, right? Like, so do you guys have equity in that? Or is it,
We do have equity.
but it's hard to refi?
If we refied it, basically the way I understand, and again, I'm not the expert, I'm
Mhm.
learning as I go. If we were to refi and buy in the Albany area, the ROI that we would get across both of the houses would be minimal. So like, let me tell you, like, let me break it down this way. We're making like 20% on this house return on our
flow
cash.
Okay.
Yeah, like return on the cash that we put down, we make 20% a year.
Okay.
If we were to refi everything and then buy another house in the Albany area, with the way the market is, we would only make 10% on both the houses. Actually, a little bit below 10% on both the houses. That's how basically we broke out the numbers.
10% on your original investment?
Yeah. Yeah. So my other partner is the money
How?
guy, because basically the way interest rates are and what we would pull out
Because well, interest rates are crazy low right now, but I guess you'd be pulling out so much more capital than you originally had in the house.
yeah.
So if you borrowed 100 grand and now I don't know what you borrowed, right? But let's say you're borrowing 100 grand and now you're borrowing 150 grand because you're going to leave 50K in the house, and then you can borrow 150K in equity.
Yeah.
You have a much larger debt. You have a larger debt, so you have a larger debt service. So you're paying more per month. Was your original note?
That's exactly what it is. That's
Okay.
exactly what it is. We'd be paying more per month on the houses. And you got to remember, it's me and three
Gotcha.
other partners. So
Gotcha.
like when you're one person, that's not a bad deal. You're making
Mm-hmm.
10% on both these houses. That's great. But when you're four business people, you kind of start looking at each other and say, wait a minute, what can we do that's bigger?
Yeah, but I totally get it. I totally get it, right? But like sometimes the play isn't. I mean, listen, we're all in it for cash flow, right? But like if you could take that and roll it into something else that's getting paid off, and you're still cash flow positive, now all of a sudden, 10 years down the line, you have way more equity in that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a longer term play, right? So
You're right.
You're getting more assets. And I could imagine, I mean, if it's anything like some of the houses that I own, you're probably not taking that cash flow on a consistent basis anyway, right? It's
Not
just
at
sitting
all.
there.
We're just sitting there.
You're not
honestly.
relying on it. So really what you're doing is you're flipping all that money that you have in there, that equity in there, you're flipping it over. You're buying another asset, right? So when you buy that other asset, if you could use all the money that you're getting as income to pay that down, you're still not taking it doesn't mean cash in your pocket, right?
Right.
But you're reinvesting that quote unquote entities, that company's money into a whole nother asset. And then in 10 years from now, you have those tenants paying down that house. You're going to have a lot more equity. So now the house that worth 200 grand today, right, will be two of them that are worth 200 grand.
That's true.
Plus, if their value goes up at all, maybe those are 250. So the same 200 grand that you have right now, the same money, it's just money compounding on top of money,
Yeah.
is now going to be worth 500,000 in equity at some point when those houses are paid down, and maybe you pay off half of that, whatever. But there's going to be a lot more cash available, and you continue to compound that by borrowing again and refining again and borrowing again and refining again, and that money keeps compounding. So even though you're not taking the cash,
You're gaining the long-term value.
You're gaining a lot more in the end in the 30-year play. If you continue to do that and continue to do that, now all of a sudden when you're 55 years old, you started off with the 20 grand or 50 grand or whatever you took out of your pocket, and you rolled it and rolled it and rolled it and rolled it and didn't take any more money out of your pocket. But in the end, you have something. Now you have 10 houses, each worth 200 grand. Now all of a sudden you have $2 million instead of the same $200,000 house, just because you were worried about that little bit of cash flow. So it's kind of like.
So that's kind of how you're looking at investments, and you're thinking of it more long-term
Yeah, it's
rather
more
than the cash flow.
so there's
cash flow is nice. I mean, I'm sure there's some, but.
Listen, there's two games to play, right? There's the appreciation and then there's the cash flow. And you could play it either way. But if it's not enough cash flow that you're actually taking cash, right? Like cash flow is cash in your pocket, right? So if it's not enough, if it's just cash flow to sit in the bank, and every year you're gaining $10,000, and oh great, how much are you making? Maybe we made 10 grand, maybe we made 10 grand, maybe we made 20 grand, right?
Right.
Okay, so we made 20 grand this year. Next year we made 40 grand. Okay, and you're making 20 grand a year. That's a lot different than in 10 years having. Well, it's the same thing, but 200 grand, or flipping that into multiple houses, because you're not just going to sit on one house, right?
No.
So if you only bought one, theoretically it's the same. But if you do that multiple times over, as time goes on, that 10 grand that you're making on the house evolves into much more and much more and much more. So it's a much longer term play by playing the appreciation. You know what I mean? By playing the value going up in that house and playing the equity card, you're going to gain a lot more out of that than the cash flow that's just sitting in the bank.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and I don't know the numbers, right? Maybe I'm totally, every investment has its tipping point, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that doesn't make sense in the case. But chances are that there's a way to play it that you're using the same money you already invested again to buy more houses.
Yeah.
And that's really, anytime you have an asset that's paying for itself,
That's huge.
Especially if it's money that's not coming out of your pocket, it's hard, that's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
so,
you're 100% right.
So it could be a play like that. I mean, I'd have to look at the numbers, but I mean, I think it's awesome. A lot of guys, I'm looking at single family houses right now. I felt that in the beginning of COVID that there was going to be a play around now that house prices would dip. Clearly, I was totally wrong because house prices have raised tremendously because everyone's trying to get out of the city, going to Long Island. It just, I didn't see it that way. I thought we were gonna have a big, a big opportunity to buy up houses because people were gonna be struggling and houses would kind of, whatever. I thought there was gonna be kind of like a little bit of a housing crisis where people weren't going to be able to pay and thought you'd be able to pick up distressed properties at good pricing.
Right.
Which still might happen. I think that there was a lot of government supplemented income.
There's a lot of time left.
Yeah, there's
I
a
don't
lot.
Think,
I
don't think we really know the economic impact.
I mean, there's a lot of things that people they just haven't felt the crunch yet. So I still think there's a play there, but I had positioned myself really well to buy up single family assets, and we thought that would be a really good play. And the play really is very simple. We buy houses that need value added, right?
Yep.
So we have a whole calculation in place that basically the purchasing the house, the renovation, and whatever the holding cost to get to the point where you're renting has to be 75%, right? 75% of whatever the ARV, the after renovation value is, right? So as long as you're at 75%, once that's rented, so if you invest $75,000, right, or $150,000, and that house is worth $200,000, after you're done renovating it and it's rented, you could theoretically refi out of that, pull out most of your money, right? Recoup your money, still hang on to that asset, push the debt out for 30 years. Now you have somebody who's paying that rental and pushing that. Also, rent has to be 1% of whatever you invest. So I have to get $1,500 a month on that $150,000 investment. And as long as that rent is paying off that house, I just bought a house for free, basically. I now have a house that I was able to take back my money, and now this renter, my tenant, is paying for that house. I could then go buy another one and buy another one and buy another one. And you keep repeating that process. And it's a great model. The problem is you can't get a house that's at that type of
that's that affordable. And you're just focusing on the Long Island market, right?
Yeah, and like there are some pockets in Long Island that historically you were able to do that, and there's still investors today that are doing it and doing it well, and they might residential is just not my game, right? So like they might have a better pipeline than I do. I mean, there's guys out there that are just scooping up houses all the time because they're getting better deals and better this and that. There's just right now the market is so hot. There are so many buyers. There are so many people looking for things that, for me, being that that's not my core focus, I'm much more of a commercial guy, multifamily, things like that. That's where I spend my time on. That's not a core focus. There's just not enough opportunity out there for me to dip my toe in the water right now. It's just not the right time. But there are still guys that get that opportunity, and like I think it's a really, really cool thing. And I think there's other places around the country, like if you're not afraid to go outside, there's other places around the country that you could do that exact model, that the market is not as hot or hasn't been as affected because they have swarms of people coming from New York City to kind of buy up all these, everything in the suburbs right now is just getting eaten up by
it's
people
crazy.
that don't want to be in the city. But there's other places around the country that you could definitely do that same model, or different times or different markets or whatever. But there's a really, really good strategy out there that guys have made a ton of money off of, just continuing to reinvest that same initial investment over time and over time and over time. And there's probably a play there for you. As long as the house is being paid for, go and get the next one.
Exactly.
That would be that's my theory, very high level, not looking at it.
Yeah, of course.
But
I like it. There's so many, I think, as somebody who's just getting into this, the real estate investing industry, it's just like, it's overwhelming at first. Like our first deal is like, we got lucky in a sense. Like we fell into it. The numbers worked and they work great. And now it's like trying to duplicate that success. Like they say, like their first one is like your first deal, you usually want to make it you want to start off on the right foot. We started out on the right foot, but now it's like being smart enough to make the next step.
And you're almost
so that's where I'm at.
Like it seems like it's such a good investment that you're almost like spoiled by it, where it's like
100% spoiled by it, but it's also we are also realized we're like, okay, this was it's a really good first deal, but like let's do the second deal. But for me now, it's all about education. Mm-hmm. Like there's a way difference like between what I just said before and what you just said. Mm-hmm. The level of your expertise, and like I'm not ashamed to say, like you're here, I'm here, so I got to get somewhere over here so I could feel confident to make that next move and make sure it's the right move.
Yeah, no, I totally get it, and I think that listen, the fact that you even know, I'm a sucker for real estate, right? Like when guys talk about the stock market, my eyes start to cross. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're talking about shorts. They're talking about I don't know, right? So I'm definitely a sucker for real estate. It just, it's what I do. It's where I live, so I understand it. But the fact that you're even talking about it, like, gets me excited, because like that's what I love. Like, that's what people should be doing. That's my spiel. That's my pitch. I tell everybody around here, even, people right out of college, 22, Markel, go buy a house, go do this. Don't worry about moving out of your parents' house. Don't worry about going and buying a new car. Don't worry. Put that money into a house and, you know what I mean? And hold it forever. Never sell it. Just keep on renting it and keep on renting it. So, like, I think it's a great investment. I think you and your buddies were awesome for doing it. Now it's just kind of tweaking it and going and buying more.
Yeah, making it work.
Yeah, because you could just turn that into a whole little, whole nother business line, a whole nother income forever.
That's the idea, right? You got to diversify a little bit. I think I'd get tired if I was looking at Facebook Ad Manager all day or Google Ads every day. So.
Well, when you talk about Facebook Ad Manager and Google Analytics, that's what happens with me. Like, you're up here and I'm like down here, and I always just when I think I have a handle on it, I go and I talk with you and I feel like this big, because like you got it totally under control. So if somebody wanted to start doing some marketing, somebody needs to get their business out there, they want to start just a small ad campaign, social media, Google, like what is your first suggestion? They can't afford to hire an agency yet. They're just kind of getting started. How do you tell them to get going?
Yeah, so I think also there's a good distinction. When you're first starting out, you shouldn't be hiring an agency. I think that's probably a mistake, and a lot of businesses make that mistake. And the agency, it's really bad on the agency, because the agency should recognize that and realize, hey, you might not be ready for our team yet because we have all this overhead and we need you to spend a certain amount, blah, blah, blah. They should really be pointing you in the right direction. So I say one of two things. If, let's say you're selling denim jackets, right? You're really great at making denim jackets. You understand how to ship things, how to manufacture them, but you don't understand marketing. What I'd say is, like, take a couple of courses online. Understand enough to be deadly so people can't honestly BS you. Mm-hmm. And then from there, you should use resources like the marketplaces like Upwork, right? These freelancers. I think freelancers are a really great way to get you up and running in a way that's not going to cost you more money, because Facebook ads, Google ads, like, these are platforms like, and it's funny, like when we talk to like a lot of Long Island companies, they think it's like the next best thing. Like, these ad platforms Google ads has been around for like 20 years. Facebook ads have been around for like 8 years. Like, these aren't new. And the amount that they change during a course of a year, during these last 8 months, it's not even the same platform that it was a year ago.
It's crazy.
So I think it could get really costly in terms of you making the mistake as the business owner, and two, you wasting your time on something that your business does. So my advice would first be educate yourself enough to be, like we say, like, know enough to be deadly, mm-hmm. right? And then what I would say is go hire a freelancer. Let them get you up and running, try to vet them out, ask them for case studies. Like, that's super important. Like, be like, have you worked with somebody in my vertical before? Can you show me examples of work? What is, like, your thought process on creating these ads or optimizing these ads? Like, see what their methodology is. If it aligns with how you think an ad campaign should be run and like what your vision is, then I would say hire them to get you started.
Makes sense.
Right? It's going to save you a lot of time. You're going to get results quicker. And then when you start growing and outgrowing that freelancer, when they can't take on as many tasks and basically as integrated as you need it to be, so I mean like across creative and across maybe other channels that you would need, mm-hmm. that's when you seek out an agency. So that would be like my candid advice to everybody. And like, even when I'm on a sales call, like, I'm super candid with people. Like, I almost flip the switch where I go off of sales mode. Like, if I see they're teetering and they're not going to like benefit from us, or if I think it's too premature, I'll just go into straight like advice mode and be like, hey, like, business owner to business owner, I think that you should go out and do these steps first, because you're going to have more success. You're going to be happier. And then when you come to us, you're going to be better prepared, and we'll take it to that next level.
And you're going to be a much more valued resource for them, because you were honest with them. You told them, and whether they're ever a customer or not, they're going to tell your friends, or their friends rather, how genuine you were and how great you were to them and how you treated them correctly, didn't take advantage. So,
And you never know who they know. Like
Yeah.
a lot of times, like the greatest entrepreneurs, they're coming from Fortune 500 companies, really large companies where there's multiple teams. So
Yeah.
if they tell somebody that, hey, I talked to this guy who's really smart, like you never know. It could be that Fortune 500 company, and that's how you get your first
You're totally
huge
right.
client as an agency,
You're
right?
totally
So
right. You know, it's funny you talk about the evolution of Google Ads, right? When I was 21 years old, so you were 14 years. You were 12, right? That's when I started. I had a construction company, right? And I did Google Ads, and it was when, and I don't even want to say it was when it first came out. It was when I first started using it, right? And it was pretty new. It was pretty
Yeah.
early on. And people really didn't even know sometimes what I was talking about when you talk about Google Ads. But I had a construction company, and it was unbelievable. It was like fishing with dynamite. If you put an ad up on Google Ads, your phone just rang. Like in the beginning,
I always wonder what that time period was like.
it was incredible.
Yeah,
I literally put
I
an
can
ad up,
imagine.
and I always talk about like, oh, I had a construction company when I was 21 years old, and I was able to grow it to have 30 guys and do a couple $1 million a year, and blah blah blah, and this and that. And everyone's like, oh my god, at 21, blah, blah. The only thing that most of what I knew was Google Ads. Like it was just incredible. It was like you put an ad out. They click, they call.
Insane.
You put it. Now you had to do more after that. Like you had to go, you had to sell the job, you had to do this. But like, I got so many leads early on from Google Ads when you were an early adopter and like people really weren't doing it, and it happened quick. It was like a 3-4 year period where like it ramped up, and then everyone was using it. But those early days when I first started, it was like incredible.
The Wild West.
It was incredible. It was
Yeah.
incredible. And like, it was just, you popped up for everything. Like, it was just like anything that had to do with it. And listen, there was a lot of, but it was like pennies. There was a lot of nuisance clicking. There was a lot of this, but it was pennies. Like, I
Yeah.
remember when I started hearing that ads got up to over $100 a click, and like for certain keywords, and it was like, what? Like, I used to spend like 11 cents. Like,
Yeah,
what the
yeah.
hell happened? But I was really, really early on, Tri-County, when I had my construction company, I was really, really able to grow it by leveraging Google Ads early on,
And no other company was probably thinking of it.
yeah, there was a handful. There was a handful. There was a handful of guys, and like literally, you Googled anything about construction on Long Island, and the same like 6 companies popped up, like just kind of
Right.
here and there. You know what I mean? Like if you were anywhere near where I was doing, it was early. It was early. It was really early on, and it was pretty freaking crazy. It was
That's
pretty crazy.
amazing.
And then as time goes on, now it's much more saturated, much tougher, much like there's no
Really expensive too.
Yeah,
For
there's
construction, I can't even. We don't handle any construction clients on the Google Ad
Yeah.
side. But I'd imagine that it's absorbently expensive and probably not that effective because the volume you'd have to have just to get one lead.
And it's crazy. People, it's not like that. It was like
But
that was the
Facebook
yellow.
is that new space though.
Yeah.
And Instagram. I mean, I know a few guys that they only get leads off Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And I've spoke to 2 companies, and in the last month they said they've never gotten so many leads in 1 month off of. I don't know what it is about this month, and I think it's because it's COVID.
Yeah.
But the residential construction industry is like booming right now. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, a lot of guys were sitting home. Everyone's looking at the same crap that's been bothering them for 10 years, and now they just sick of looking at it, so they're getting it fixed. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think that you have to evolve with the times. You have to kind of always know where the audience is and where you're getting the best bang for your buck, and kind of figure that out and navigate that water. And now it's just getting tougher and tougher and tougher because things come out all the time.
The toughest thing is it's more complex now, right? So
Yeah.
it's not just doing. I mean, the fact that you have the foresight to do Google Ads, like that's huge. But now what business owners have to think about, they're like, okay, they could have the foresight to use TikTok, but it's not just a keyword and a search ad. Like they got to think about the creative and how they look in that creative, and like, does it resonate with the audience? Like it's super complex and like almost fragmented in a way that I think it's really overwhelming for business owners.
It's a lot. And we like to think of ourselves as innovative here, right? Like we built out the studio. We understand content.
Definitely.
We understand we got to push it. We understand this. Like we're not doing any of that TikTok stuff yet. And like it's big.
Yeah.
It's big. A lot of people are doing a lot of great things. And like maybe it's just that, I don't know, I'm old now and like I just can't but like I'm like scared of it because I never used it. I never
It's
did
tough.
but like that's a whole nother world, and you always hear it coming up, and you always hear people doing it, and you always hear like, what am I missing out on? But it's very difficult to keep up with everything. It's very difficult to keep up with everything, and like you kind of have to decide what makes the most sense, what doesn't, and yeah, I don't know, man. It's definitely a crazy world, and anybody that's looking to do it for real, anybody who's looking to spend real money on it and get a real return on their investment, you got to look to an agency and
Yeah.
you,
Yeah. I think especially with like the newer platforms, like, you get your Facebook and Instagram ads and Google ads, right? How do you experiment and get that TikTok? Usually you need an agency and,
definitely,
start
and
experimenting.
I'll tell you this, that I've done a lot, I've seen a lot, I've talked to a lot of people, and I can tell you that from a data analytics standpoint, no one's doing it better than Dean and his team, and I mean that sincerely.
I
You
appreciate that.
guys are really, really diving into it like on a whole nother level. So if you're looking to do it, you want to get a good solid return and really understand the actual return in hard numbers. You got to take a good look at Mission Disrupt and call Dean. If anybody needs to get in touch with you, how do they do it?
You can check out our website, missiondisrupt.com. If you guys want to email me, it's dean@missiondisrupt.com. It's pretty easy. So,
Awesome, Dean. Thank you very much for coming in. Always a pleasure. Had a great conversation. Hope to do it again sometime. We appreciate it.
yeah, I'll see you soon, Rob.
All right, cool. Thanks.